ready. Or never ready. I don't know.
Okay, everyone. Welcome back to the... I was going to say the Spindle
I know.
City. Welcome back to the Bottom Line, Unfiltered Talk Show. And, guys, welcome back.
Thank you.
Always good to be at the bottom line.
Always good. The bottom line is the bottom line, right? So we will be going on YouTube very soon, probably by the end of the week. We'll download all our shows to our YouTube page. We'll also be going on the web page, and we've been invited to be on in two other states. So I'll be live with them tomorrow, and they want to. I don't know why, but they want to take our show on their platform. So we're going to give that a shot.
Maybe we can attribute that to good taste.
Could be. Not our pretty faces, that's for sure.
That's for
No,
sure.
that's for sure.
All right, so
You know what it is? It's that smooth head of yours that gets everyone.
yeah, and he's right under the light too,
That's right.
So
Right under the light.
we get a lot of feedback.
Makeup.
All right,
Get that powder puff.
you guys want to start out? You want to pick up from anything that you left off on Spindle City Street Talk?
No,
Is there
no.
anything there you need to finish?
No, but I do want to address something.
Yes.
It's been hitting social media and the news outlets
Yes.
that the military left behind military working dogs.
Yeah,
That is not accurate. That is a false statement.
that's why I didn't touch it.
What they left behind was contract working dogs, which came from Afghanistan. They left the Afghani dogs there. Some of them came from other countries, but they left them there.
What?
The
They still left
military-
dogs there.
Right, because they were from there anyhow.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if
I
I
know.
can justify that.
They were like
They-
our interpreters.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
We left them there.
regardless of who owned them, if they were on an American base or they were doing American work, they should have been considered allies.
Right.
Well, just
But-
like the interpreters.
That's what they left behind. And I think people are mistaking the contract working dogs for the formally trained military working dogs.
Right.
According to the Pentagon, the military working dogs left the country with their handlers.
Yeah. Well, that's good, but I still can't condone leaving animals behind.
Right.
Well, I'm not sure if anything we just said is even accurate, because I saw this morning
Yeah.
someone from the State Department say he wasn't sure where the dogs were, if the dogs were left behind.
Oh.
And now the Pentagon releases that, and the Pentagon also classified this as a successful mission.
Right.
So, I mean, I really can't, I don't put a lot of confidence in Austin and Milley, who have pulled a Biden. They were hiding in a cellar with Biden through this whole thing. And now what they're gonna do, this is over, they're gonna spin it. They're gonna get up now and talk about how successful the airlift was.
They were doing it this
and
morning.
We only left 100 and some Americans behind. That's 100 and
Yep.
some too many. We left thousands of interpreters behind.
Right.
And allies, so.
And they said that the reason that this went south was, of course, Biden could not talk to the Taliban leader because Trump cut off all negotiations with the Taliban leader, which I think is a ludicrous statement, because what Trump did or did not do is irrelevant. You are now the president.
That's right.
You open a line of communications.
You're right. That is the most ridiculous statement I have ever heard in my life. We all know that there was a film of Trump in 2017 saying that he outlined a plan to bring all the civilians home before the military pulled out, and that date was not carved in stone. That date was based on conditions on the ground,
Yeah.
and if they harmed an American, he was going to rain hell down on their head. So as usual, Biden is reading from his script, and that is absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
Because, as you said, it doesn't matter. He got rid of the Keystone Pipeline. He got rid of the stay in Mexico, although the Supreme
He
Court
did,
just
yeah,
held it again.
yeah.
But he just erased everything.
But he's
Trump
gonna
did.
follow
But
Trump's
he's going to
plan.
follow this particular
Yeah.
one. He can't take the heat.
Yeah.
I advise everybody to go and listen to some of the statements
Yeah, the
that
guy
the parents
said-
of the military people who were killed in action said.
Well,
they
and I
were
think
very-
just his actions at the first of all, he was asked not to attend by parents.
That's right.
The return of the bodies. He showed up anyways, right? Ignorant as he is. Number two, he I don't know how many. I think it was more than 3 times. He just was focused on his watch.
On his watch, because he
And
had
on
a
the
meeting
ground.
afterwards.
And everybody's looking at the ground
Yeah.
like, what the hell's on the ground?
Right.
I'm saying, am I getting the whole picture? You know?
Well, they were all guilty, and he was looking at his watch, and then they said all he did was talk about his son, Bo, not about the 13 people who
Does
became
that every
those
time
other-
the military comes
Yeah,
up.
because it's all my son, Bo, and his
Yep.
son died of a, with all due respect, nobody likes to see his son die.
Yeah.
But fact is, he died of a brain tumor. He didn't die. He didn't
didn't
die
die
in
in
a
combat.
combat action.
No.
So he died of a brain tumor.
Right.
So had thousands of Vietnam vets that were exposed to Agent Orange.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of them. So the fact is that, this was absolutely, and read some of the scathing statements. One parent, I'm going to paraphrase, but she called him a dementia-ridden,
Dementia, yeah. Dementia.
piece of shit,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
But something like that. 'Cause some of those parents were outraged by the fact, as you said, and one of them said that, he killed my son.
Yeah.
And, you killed my son with that fiasco over it.
Yeah.
And today I watched it this morning, and they were saying, oh, well, remember, this was a withdrawal. So that absolves you of your duty to protect your military?
And his stupid statement a couple of weeks ago about, I don't care what type of plane we would have had, there would have been chaos. There was no way of coming out of this. Yes, there is. Of course there was. You leave enough men there so they don't dare do anything,
Yeah, well, the thing is, there hadn't been a casualty in 18 months because of what Trump said. The fact is, look, anybody that knows anything, even a modicum of any kind of military tactics, what he did was the tactics that Custer used at the Little Bighorn. Be surrounded by Indians and then figure out you're going to win when you're outnumbered. He allowed the Taliban to basically encircle our troops. They were surrounded like at the Alamo.
Yeah, that's why he should never left the other base.
That's not the way
Right.
it's not military. It's not rocket science. What you do in a situation like that is there hadn't been a casualty. And they said they offered to give him Kabul to let the amount. Yeah, he didn't want to. He said, "Oh no, we don't have enough troops. We're going to go just do the embassy," and they lost the embassy anyway.
Yeah.
So the fact is that what you do then is we got the airport. You secure the airport, our military, no matter how many it takes, and then you make a neutral
gradual,
zone.
yeah.
You got a zone, just like they do in other places.
Yeah.
And so you got a 300, 400 yard, 500 yard neutral zone, and it's protected by our military, and anybody who sticks their head in it that doesn't belong gets their head shot off. And then you send your troops to create a corridor to evacuate the Americans and whoever you want to evacuate, and walk them through the corridor, and if anybody sticks their head out, you shoot them.
Yeah, well,
That's a military operation, but that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You don't send the military to a foreign land to be TSA agents.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's what they were.
and you should, right from the jump, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but right from the jump, it was a mess because, giving up a strategic airport with 2 runways, which gives you the high ground and visual access all the way around, that's where you want to be, right? You don't want to be in the middle of the city where they can shoot down on you, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, how do you let your enemy be the checkpoint?
Yeah, cool.
So it is what it is. It's too bad.
Bagram is the most secure base in the world.
And
Was.
then yesterday,
Well, it's still secure, but it's not secured by us.
Exactly.
and the other thing, lastly, was that last night I seen photos of the Taliban dressed in our uniforms.
Our uniforms.
Our combat uniforms
Yep.
with night vision glasses, automatic weapons.
Billions.
And they were going into a wing, an airplane wing with helicopters and planes and
Right.
everything. That's all left for them. And prior to that, I had been listening to whoever that guy is that does all the talking in the suit. He said that everything was disabled. That shit didn't look disabled to me.
Nope.
It's not. You can't just take a computer out of a plane and disable it. Unfortunately, right? You have to blow it up. You have to
They
destroy
didn't
all
take
the.
anything up. They were carrying our weapons. They were carrying. That was absolute. That's covering their asses because they screwed the. This
What
is
an
the
insult
worst
to be in
screw-up
our
in history.
uniforms.
They
Oh
screwed
my
the
God!
They screwed the pooch on this one. There's no question about it.
Yeah. So what else?
Well, Just obviously, we should have a moment of silence for the 13. Everybody out there, keep the 13 families that lost loved ones in their thoughts and prayers. That's all.
Definitely.
Yeah, by all means, definitely. And I don't know what they can do, how they can do it, but this day needs to never be forgotten. Whether it's a holiday, whether it's a recognized day of some type, but it can never ever be forgotten. Because how the government is. The next screw up they make takes president. You know what I mean?
Well, don't say that in Fall River, because in Fall River we don't take to remembering things.
Right,
Like
right.
9/11.
Right. Talk about Fall River. Today at 4 o'clock, I believe, if I have the times right, 4 to 6.
Overdose awareness ceremonies.
The visual, right? Where they'll have the candles. They'll walk up to the church. They ring the bell for every person that overdosed and died. So if anybody is available to go down there, it's a whether you agree or disagree with the whole setup, right? It's a nice solemn way of showing respect for both the victim, but the families that suffer that when it's all said and done.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You lose your child in war, you lose your child to addiction, you lose your child to a car accident, you lost a child.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Parents should not bury their children.
That's right.
Yeah.
You mentioned on a previous show,
Yeah.
River to Recovery.
Yeah, he was on the radio today.
He's been on the
Kevin.
radio. Yeah, Kevin was on the
Yeah.
radio, and they're expanding their services.
Yeah, they Kevin,
but-
like I said before, Kevin's a very intelligent dude. He's got a lot of recovery, and he has his master's degree in counseling. But I think he's also has the highest substance abuse license, training license, and stuff. And he has wanted, through my discussions with him, he has wanted to bring a mental health component in. But again, the restrictions, the building, this, that, and everything. So I guess now with his license and the 2 social workers he brought in under a grant, they're going to do that. And that's crucial because, man, substance abuse aside, we have big mental health issues in the city.
And you know what? The average wait time right now for somebody to see a therapist or a psychiatrist is 6 to 9 months.
Can you imagine that?
6 to 9 months, even in an emergency. There are people.
There's no more walk-ins.
There are people being transferred to places like Bournewood Psychiatric Facility,
Yeah.
Arbor Fuller,
Boston.
and they're being discharged, and there's no
2 weeks.
therapist out there. They're discharged with a week or 2 weeks worth of
There's
medication.
no aftercare.
There's no aftercare whatsoever.
That's that one piece that's been missing for eternity.
Right.
You can go to the hospital. They'll transfer you to a lock unit somewhere for 2 weeks, get your meds stabled, and if 2 weeks even works, but get you close to being med stable, and then he release you.
Right.
Right back to, it's the same thing with drug addiction. It's gotten better now because they do have some step-down programs, but not in mental health,
No,
at
no,
all.
exactly. And with the average wait time being 6 to 9 months, that's a long time. I was speaking to a friend of mine who is a therapist, and he works for a local agency, and he said, I can't take any more clients. He goes, nobody in our office can take any more clients. We have a waiting list that's pages long. People waiting. They're calling around to every agency and putting themselves
I'm
on the waiting list.
surprised that we don't have more suicides than we already have. With the amount of people, and I was reading something the other day about the COVID and how mental health, violence in the house, domestic violence.
Yep.
And alcoholism is back up again. And they contributed to COVID.
Yeah.
People were left in the house. They were locked in their house. They couldn't do
No,
anything.
you go stir crazy.
Right.
They go stir crazy.
Right.
Basically, they got cabin fever.
Yeah, and the kids get under your feet, and the wife's nagging at your ear, or
And
the
the
husband's
dog's
nagging at the
barking,
wife.
Dogs barking.
Dogs barking.
And
right?
and you can't get out, and it's like,
Hey, you just hit. I think it was Forever Pause. I heard say it. Don't quote me, but I think it was them that said that with the pandemic, they got a load of abandoned dogs. Not abandoned. I'm sorry.
adopted.
People that couldn't take the dogs anymore. I don't know if it was
Surrenders.
Yeah, surrenders might have been connected to
Yep.
the stress level in the
Right.
house, like you just said. You
Yeah.
know, so you see how
But
you
at the
know,
same time, adoptions were up tremendously
Yeah.
during COVID.
cats though mostly, right?
Yeah, mostly cats. I don't know why, but
I don't know. Well, you know what? I mean, not for nothing. I don't mean to be mean, but cats are dumb, right? I mean, you give them some food, you give them a shit box, give them something to chase around, and you know they're okay. You know.
And they don't come to you and lay on you most of them. Well,
No,
some of them do.
Some do, yeah, but very few. I mean, I've had
They're-
cats.
They're,
Yeah.
yeah, they're too. They're a little bit too.
They're kinda like
They're not
me,
like. They're
ignorant.
not like. They're not like a furry friend. They're like
Yeah.
a fur. You know, a furry visitor. They just comes in. You know,
Like
so
my dog,
They
I
only
can't
visit you
move.
when you want. You know, it's like.
Right,
But
right.
you know, but I got a question here. Does anybody know? Since we're back on Fall River to a degree. How many shots were fired on Reuben Street? Was between 5 and 15? Did we ever find out?
Between 5 and 15, they haven't put it down.
I haven't
And the
found
chief hasn't spoken about it, and neither
Yeah,
has
he
the
did
mayor.
today.
Oh, he did speak about it.
He was
today.
on the radio this morning.
Okay.
8:30 with
Eli or Alan?
neither.
Oh, Heck?
Sue.
Oh, Sue?
Sue was covering for half
Oh.
hour, and he talked about it. And he said, I believe he said, if I'm correct, don't quote me, 34 shootings this year.
So far, right.
So far.
So far.
Last year.
We still got some. We still got a lot of year left here. We're only in. You know.
Yeah, it's only the 8th month. Right? So
Going into 9.
34.
We still got a third of the year left.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And he said that, it's the one thing that they just have to have more men. And he's, I guess, from what I got on the radio, he's instructed people to get out of their cars and go talk, like they used to in the old days.
Right.
Get out of your car, go talk with people, go in the playgrounds, go in the parks, which is why I've said for how many years now, bring back the park police. Now you need them more than you did then.
Right.
Because now, people are in the parks.
You
kids
know,
are in the
I
parks.
have a problem with the chief turning around saying we need more men. Okay? We know that Fall River's complement is not where it used to be. But we also know that Fall River's complement is sitting inside the police station. A good chunk of the men who do the work are sitting inside the police station. They've been suspended, then they come back and they're on desk duty. We have people who are doing all kinds of desk
Well,
duty.
that's only 2 guys.
Oh, no, there are other people that are doing all administrative work.
Yeah.
I think I spoke to him about that, and I don't recall exactly what his answer was, but I had the same concern that I felt that we were like a school department, top
Right.
heavy.
Exactly.
Too many lieutenants and lieutenants, although do go on the road now. You don't see captains on the road. Captains and above.
But yeah, you got a problem here. I mean, the fact is, we got the same amount of sector cars as we had 30 years ago. So you're not going to tell me we have a higher presence. They may have one-man sector cars, two-man sector cars, but the reality is we've seen a lot of complaints about expanding the size of the police department. But even when they had 300 men, they had the same amount of sector cars.
Right.
So what have we gained? We fundamentally.
Well, I think what happens, though, Chip,
fundamentally,
is you
we've
have 2
lost
men in a car and 2 guys walking.
Yeah, well,
so you have
the
4 guys in the sector.
problem is, if we're gonna have more police officers, number one, they have to be on the street, as far as I'm concerned. And secondly, we have to figure out why we're having all these shootings. If most of them are
Gangs.
gang-related, where is we need to create some kind of, look, you go to L.A., you go to New York, they've got, I mean,
They've got special
you don't
units.
try to
He
you don't
and
try
I-
to reinvent the wheel.
That's right.
He
What
and
you
I
do is you
talked
go
about
to these
it.
places and say, what do you guys do? They have dedicated gang
Well,
units and
yeah,
stuff.
and there is a plan. He does have a plan, right? It's just that, I mean, in all due respect, the guy's only been in so many months, and he's been putting fires out every day, and there's always somebody's screwing
Yeah.
up. So I don't know if it's lip service or what it is, right? All I know is that he said that, and I agree with him on this one, that this is not a problem you're gonna stop. Gangs are gonna be forever, and I truly believe that. But what you can do is make it so it's very uncomfortable for them to form.
Yeah.
And I believe a lot of that starts with the schools and getting people into the schools, not cops, not bringing dare into the schools, right? But bringing ex-gang members into the school that maybe went to jail, maybe, you know, all that. And you bring them in, and they age appropriate, right? And you start it in the younger grades. They were doing that at one time in the high schools. But we know today they're getting involved at 10, 11 years old.
That's right.
So you have to do it in the grammar schools, and you have to, in order to do that, you have to have police officers that are street savvy, that can go into the community, talk with these gangs, find out through the gangs who is out there now that's not in the gang, and then you approach that guy and you see if he's willing to help you go into the schools. It's a whole process.
Well, yeah, but nobody's.
That's how Buddy did it.
No, listen, let me make this perfectly clear so you understand. I'm not blaming this guy.
No.
This guy is new, but we haven't done anything in years. We had a gang problem with Eddie Lambert that he denied.
Yeah.
So the fact is, where's the
We all
mayor?
did.
Where's the mayor on this? We had bodies dropping at Corky Row.
And the superintendent, because he has to be involved.
And so has the mayor said we're gonna concentrate on this. We're gonna go and keep the people updated. Like you said, this can't happen overnight.
No, it's a long process.
If you look at New York City, when New York City is once one of the most dangerous cities in the world, now it is again with De Blasio.
Yeah.
But they did turn that around. It became one of the safest large cities in the world. Now we understand that gang units need informants to see the gang activities. They knew every gang. They knew every gang leader. They knew the structure. They had
We had
they
gang
had places in
mediation
the school.
in
You
Providence.
got in a school. You got some programs in for intervention in the schools about keeping kids out of gangs. We have again sports and drop-in centers to keep them out of the gangs. This is going to take a long time, but we got to start. And the problem is, I
think
see-
he's trying. I don't know if he's getting any help,
And I'm not talking
though.
about him.
Yeah, I don't know if he's
But
getting
I'm-
any help,
but
though.
That's not. He can say that, but he can't get up there and say, I want to do this and I want to do that.
That's what
because
I'm
then
saying.
the mayor's going to say,
Yeah.
wait a minute, you're stealing my thunder, and all department heads are under that because if they come up with an idea, the mayor wants to take it anyway, and they're going to make a press conference. But where's the mayor? Corky Row was a while ago. Now, how long ago was Corky Row? And now we see more bullets
2 months.
flying. This city,
Different area.
This
Just
city
moved
for
them.
two.
Yeah.
For 2 consecutive years, was the most dangerous city in Massachusetts.
Chip, when they did that in Corky Row, I remember, and I could probably find the post, but I remember saying, this is ancient history. They're going to flood it with police. They're going to have they're going to have all this stuff in the community, and when the violence stops, it'll gradually go away. But all they've done is move the gangs from here to here.
Right,
the gangs
exactly.
still live there, but with the heat, they're now
Exactly.
going the other way.
Right.
You know?
They went to the Flint this time.
And now you took all your police from the Flint and you put them down there, so now you have less. I'm assuming that. I can't say that.
But
That's what
here's
happened.
the thing that gets me: the Fall River Police Department, under
Band-Aid,
multiple chiefs, has received money in grant form.
Yeah. We have
Okay.
shady grants. We have all kind of grants.
We got the Shannon grants are all over the place, and that's supposed to be to work against gang formation and gang violence.
But they
and all
play
that.
basketball down CD Rec or wherever. That's
Yeah,
their
that's-
gang.
but
They
that-
don't take gang prevention classes, mediation
exactly.
classes,
Right.
cultural diversity
The-
classes.
the money is
But he
being
did
used-
all that.
Right, the money.
All them classes.
The money is being used by the city department to fund
for
the city
police.
department. That's right.
Yep.
They're not using it for what the money was meant for. And the worst part about it is you have people like Senator Michael Rodrigues, Alan Sylvia, Carol Fiola, Paul Schmidt, who all say, oh yeah, we got the more Shannon grant money. But nothing's changing. You can give them all the money in the world. If they don't change anything, it's going to be no change.
I've been saying that for how long?
Yeah, and you're right. It's just like the drug problem, and you're very aware of that. The thing is, it's not put in the right places. There's nothing,
Like Kevin Doyle's program, that should have got the money, not Star. He should have got the
what really
money.
irritates me? It's like you can look at cities that have huge cities and they have huge drug gang problems but they've done something. they've done something. Gang units in L.A., gang units in New York City. They know they've got a chart with every gang leader, the whole hierarchy of that gang. They've got intervention for kids. They've got all kinds of stuff.
We've learned
But
you can't arrest your way out of
You're
this.
right.
anymore.
Look, it's never going to go away. It's just in cities there are going to be. But the ironic part, we've got a better chance of really putting a real big dent in a city the size of Fall River than a city like New York City or L.A.
And you can't attack it from one. You can't say we're going to do a raid on the gangs, right?
Yeah.
So it has to be 3-4 different things at once working. So you put them in the schools. You do your push on your law enforcement arrests, your raids, and your prevention, and the media campaign, right? And you do that all at once. Because if you do any one of them alone, it's a waste of money.
Oh, what you said before, I remember it was a while ago, but I remember I saw a documentary about a former gang member that came out of jail.
Yeah.
And then he started a program where he went out to the schools, talked to these kids and stuff like that. Yeah. Because like you said, look, people who are in gangs now, they're not going to get out. They're going to, you got to try to keep them a lid on them. Some of them may, but now what you got to try to do is get kids from going into gangs and having the thing just dry up.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we look at Fall River and we talk about shootings every couple of weeks, and we never ever see anything because we know that. Look, I will, and I'm a betting man, I will bet anybody that if you say drugs and gangs are into drugs too, but those two people are basically 95% of the shootings are related to either drugs or gang or both.
Right. It's both, yeah. And utilize, see, you went from one extreme to this. So you had the Ed Lambert that said we don't have gangs. Now you have an administration that's really not saying nothing. But then you have a chief who's saying publicly, we have a gang problem here. We need to address it in the lower grades with prevention. We need to do this, this, and this. But I don't know that he's getting the support. I was part of a program called SLAM, Students Learning a Message. It was developed by Chef Jabrowski way back then. And what it was inmates joined this group, and they would bring busloads of kids to the jail, and you would go in a room with them, and it was like a mile skid straight.
I was gonna say
it was like a mile skid straight, right?
Skid straight program.
And then 2 or 3 of the inmates would then go visit schools, age appropriate, right? Mainly high schools, middle and high schools. And they still have that program. SLAM is still there, and it can be utilized. You just need the superintendent and the mayor to call the sheriff and get it going again. There's no COVID now. I had called about a year ago to the sheriff's office, and I spoke with the sheriff. Matter of fact, I interviewed him from here. And they had the program, and he was more than willing to bring them down here, once the COVID let up. But that's how you do it,
But
right?
you see, this is Fall River's problem. This is what they do.
Well, they don't want help because
if I don't see
they
it,
don't want to give up the glory.
If I don't see it, it doesn't happen. And if I can't get the glory for this, I'm not going to do it. And this is why we have the problem we have.
Maybe gangs ought to go and move up the Highlands. Maybe they ought to move up the
move them into Ward 9. You want to see how fast something happens?
Oh yeah, you want to see how quickly everybody will be screaming if it goes up to the north end. It's just like when they get on Nancy Pelosi's front lawn. Then we got the National Guard out and every police.
It was just like the cocaine. As long as it was in South L.A. or the ghettos of L.A. where the gangs were, it was fine. When the cocaine went into the colleges and the white kids got addicted. Now it's a big project, Now the president's on TV about it.
But you get luckily, as you said, we had Eddie Lambert who denied it. Now we got this guy doesn't say anything about anything except I got a movie. My next movie will be now. After Corky Row, it's bad enough when you have shootings, but when you have bodies, people die. That should be the wake up call for the mayor to say, listen, This is going to be one of the focal points. Public safety. They always say public safety, public safety. Well, that's public safety. That should have been the wake up call for him to say, we are gonna tell the people of Fall River what we're gonna do. I'm gonna give the police chief everything he needs, and anybody else got any ideas? Come on in. Let's try to. Yeah, but he doesn't.
No,
want
as a
any-
matter
You
of
know,
fact,
and you know what? And I say this all the time. I say there are a lot of me's out there. There are a lot of people out there. A good handful of people out there who've lived through addiction, have lived through prisons and all these things, such as I. If you don't have to deal with me. Deal with them. At least get the people in it that know what to do and know how to do it, and somebody who lived through it and knows the complications involved in getting out of it. You
but
know,
you see,
they don't.
You've got a
You
mayor
know?
right now who says, "I've done so much work over at Corky Road. I've made it a better place. I'm not going to have that destroyed. I'm not going to have that taken apart. Corky Road's going to stay the way it is. I'm not going to have events there that I don't approve of. I'm not going to have events there. I'm not going to do this. I'm not
Those
going
are
to
the
do that."
kind of events that will
That
bring those
bring
kids
those people together.
and that while you got those, I call it hostages. You have hostages. Now you get the hostage. Now you talk about violence.
That's right.
You have the concert and you talk about it too. You
Right.
know, anti-violence songs. You know, but again, you got old white men trying to dictate policy for minorities that they have no idea. Because you went to the school department, don't mean you know how these people live and how they think.
Yeah, he knows how they work. You're stupid. Drop out. Don't stay here. Don't waste my time.
I think
Awful.
he also
Awful.
blamed the attainment levels because we
Yeah,
have
that's right, he
a
did.
higher percentage of people of color than whites now.
Right.
So that's fundamentally calling them all stupid.
Yeah, but
so maybe he doesn't want to have that in Corky Road because there are too many people of color.
Well, about 20 years ago when we had low attainment rates, what was
Yeah.
the excuse then? Too many whites?
Yeah, too many white people.
Or broken homes, that's what it was.
Yeah, broken homes.
Yeah,
It's always an
There's
excuse.
Always, exactly.
You know?
Never a
Always,
solution, but always an excuse.
That's right.
And
that
the-
could be his campaign mantra.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think the hypocritical part of it is that you go on the radio, you go on the microphone, you talk about wanting to change things, and anybody got a, like you said, good idea and everything. But you know what? He knows where the good ideas are. He just don't want to associate with us.
Yeah.
He knows where there's a lot of people out there. Kevin Doyle, who doesn't even do anything about politics, put his own money to build that place, and a lot of money it took too. Why ain't he getting these kind of grants? Why start getting them?
Well,
you know what I mean?
politics
Because he
is-
doesn't, right? Because he
Politics.
doesn't rub elbows.
That's right. You
You
gotta
know?
go.
He's not writing the checks for the campaign support. That's
No,
the
because
problem.
he's anti. He doesn't do politics.
That's right.
He does treatment. You know.
Yeah.
And the sad part about it is, and you know, I hate to say this to Mr. Doyle, but I'm going to say it anyhow. If he doesn't get into the political arena, he's not going to get the grants and the money that would help benefit his project and his program. And that is a sad thing to say, but it's truth.
Yeah, I think you have to at some level.
Addiction, alcohol abuse, overdosing, suicides, those are all political mantras. They're all political statements.
Oh.
They make statements, and the politicians eat them up. And unless you're going to be there to stick it down the throat and say, no, you don't use it for your benefit. This is what it is.
Yeah.
This is a body. This is somebody who died.
Fortunately, right now, I mean, from what I understand, he's been getting grants. You know, like he's just got something going with mental health, so he's going to be able to do some mental
Right.
health stuff. You know, but again, he's not getting that $1 million a year for 5 years like Star gets.
Right.
You know, 1.5 million for 5 years. Those are the types of things because
That pays Nancy Paul's salary.
because he also has an upstairs that he wants to turn into sort of one or two things, either like a step down program or something to do with mental health, you know, where you can treat there. So, but that takes money.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Well, that's the problem. And if we look at how much the governments on all levels blow on stuff that's totally irrelevant, doesn't make any. Look, we just gave hundreds of billions of dollars in equipment to the Taliban.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. And we look on the city of Fall River, we give out a lot of money. There's a lot of money given out. Where does it go? What do we see that really goes to something that really, really helps communities at their base? Like you said, we got a drastically different demographic in Fall River now. We've got all kinds of different cultures in Fall River now, and it seems that certain people don't want to acknowledge them. They don't want to bring them into the fold.
Walk around City Hall.
Yeah.
Go to the 6th floor and walk in those offices and tell me how much cultural diversity there is up there.
There is none.
Tell me, do you see a Cambodian? How many Spanish people do you see up there? How many African Americans do you see up there? How many Haitians do you see up there? On and on and on.
Yeah.
It's all, unfortunately, it's all whites.
Yeah. And
Whites who have got favors from somebody.
well, I mean, look at the school department where he came from. Look at the top level of the administration.
Yeah.
How many non-whites do you see in that administration?
Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot.
I don't know.
Not
Do
a
we
whole
have,
lot.
I wonder, how many,
I got no idea. I don't even, half the time we don't know what the school department's doing when we're supposed to know.
I'm
Exactly.
just curious how many minorities actually are teachers, and of that, how many are vice principals? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Statistical wise.
Yeah, well, it is. That's the whole problem with government and these partisan politicians. They're always talking about diversity and inclusion and stuff, yet they support exclusion. Harvard is now stopping Orientals from coming into Harvard because he said there's too many of them because they're too smart.
Too smart.
So they're of color, but so at one end they're saying we're for diversity, but then they'll go, wait a minute, no, we don't want. We're gonna. Yale did it. All the Ivy League schools
I
are
was
trying to
seeing
keep.
that on TV.
You know,
the other day.
that's unconscionable to me. What you do is educate everybody and give everybody an equal opportunity. Like they say, it's not about. Their definition of equity is putting people in that are not qualified. The true thing, if you want equality, it means that everybody has an equal opportunity. Give everybody the same quality education. When you look at our school system, do you think that Tansy's academic achievement is better than other schools that are not in that area?
Yeah, of course.
Of course they are.
Of course.
If you look at the schools in the North End, they always have higher attainment levels. That's not coincidental. Is it because the kids in the South End aren't as smart as the kids in the North End? That's not true.
You know what? And I can tell, and I hope that somebody calls me a liar, right? Because there's so much patronage in that whole school department.
Oh
right?
yeah, there's no question about
My
it.
son didn't live anywhere near Tansy, anywhere near it, and I picked up the phone. I had better connections than I have now, relationships, right? I picked up the phone and he was in Tansy. That was it.
Right.
That quick. Boom, boom, boom. Within days. Did it twice, actually. So, is it right? Is it wrong? I think it's wrong, even though I did it. I did it for my son's benefit. But shouldn't that be open to everybody? Should it have to be that somebody who knew somebody who knew
But
somebody?
you see, that's the thing. They say it's parents' choice. The parents choose the school that they want their child to go to, if there's space available.
Yeah.
They say.
After I made the phone call,
Right. There was no
you
space
not
available.
getting in.
Yeah, there's no space available before you made the phone call. Then
Yeah.
you made the phone call to somebody. Now all of a sudden,
Not in space.
there's space. No,
Yeah.
that's not the way it's
Yeah.
supposed to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the way things are going right now, you're seeing the undoing of the public school system. People are getting irate with the fact that there are a lot of major teachers unions who refuse to go into the classroom. They're having all kinds of problems over masking and COVID. But that's only the straw that broke. That's the purple bags of education.
Right.
You're seeing more and more people saying, we want choice.
Yeah.
Charter schools.
Yeah, yeah.
Charter schools normally outperform public schools.
Oh yeah, no
And the
question
public
about it.
Without a
schools,
doubt.
they complain about it.
I'm going to tell you what, they might be shooting themselves in the foot
Yeah.
by saying this, because you look at these low attainment levels, then you look at the same kids that go to a charter school, and all of a sudden they're beginning to achieve.
Yeah, because they're not allowed to screw around in class and do
Yeah.
all that other stuff. But the other thing with that is they complain about charter schools because the money goes with the kid, right? And then they claim charter schools only take the students that are good students. They won't take a trouble student. So the trouble students end up being much more in the public schools because charter schools won't take them. So if that's actually the truth, then they need to do a policy change.
Well,
where you have to take,
according to the charter schools, and I know that I had to participate in it because I tried to get my daughter into charter school. They don't know anything about the child. All they know is the child's name and grade.
them, right?
Right. That's all they get. That's all they get, and they put their names in a bucket.
Yeah.
And then they pick them out.
All right.
And these are the people who get in.
That'd be nice to find out who's lying then.
Yeah, because I mean, and I've been in that process. I've gone to where they select them out of the bucket.
Yeah.
And then if you try to get them in after kindergarten, it's even more difficult because spaces don't become available.
Right.
Spaces don't become available.
And while it's on my mind, let me go back and clear up something. It was I misspoke. It wasn't my son. It was my grandkids at Tansy. Not my son, my grandkids.
But let's look at that. But that's a false argument. They get people. They won't take the bad kids. Yeah, they're not gonna because they're fundamentally
This.
they're not public schools. If they have a disruptive student, they're probably going to get rid of them.
Of course.
So what are you going to do? So of course, but the public school does that too. What's the resilience program?
Right, that's what the resilience.
That's what they do. So they've got them. So what? So if they're saying that's the problem for their low attainment,
did say that.
but it's not, because they still got more regular students than resilient students. And I don't even know if they take the academics of the resilient students and factor that into the achievement level. They may be carving
Yeah,
that
they
out.
said that,
They
too.
may be carving that out. So that means
Yeah.
it's irrelevant.
They
So
did
what
say that.
happens? So you know something, private industry may say that. They say, okay, you want to pay us to teach these kids, even at their trouble. There may be a resiliency charter school.
That's it.
Why
for the
not?
trouble students.
Why not?
Because see, that's the difference. They're in there
To teach.
to teach and to do it for a profit. So they have to do it well.
And
see,
see,
the thing is, if you're doing
that's the
something
difference.
and you're going to get paid, see, they always complain that there's no accountability once they get tenure in a public education system. In the charter schools, they're a business. If they don't educate your kids, they're out of business.
Yep. And
That's
here's the
simple.
thing:
Yeah.
these public school system and their teachers are offended because, number one, in the charter schools, they get paid. Teachers allegedly get paid more. Allegedly, they're non-union, and they allegedly have better benefits. Now, I don't know what type of benefits the Fall River Public Schools is giving these teachers, but I thought it was the same benefits that Fall River employees got. I thought it was the
I
same
thought
healthcare
so,
system.
too.
Yeah, it is.
I
Same
So
It is.
how can they say that the charter schools are getting better health insurance?
They have the same retirement too, right?
Yeah, well, they have their own system.
Yeah, but
'Cause
it's
so
basically
big, yeah.
the same
It's-
setup.
Yeah, it's the same.
So
basic
I would
thing.
assume that they're under the same master medical
Look,
plan.
and let
You
let
know?
me say something, because I don't have anything against good teachers,
Right.
and I think that they are always a great asset, whether it's a charter
Sure.
school or a public school.
I agree.
The problem with the public schools, to me, is not the teachers, the good teachers. And I know there are a couple of that aren't, but most of them are. And the problem is, as you said, to go back, the bureaucracy. They've got 100 layers of people making big money to be administrating, and they're administrating nothing. And they can look at achievement levels for 20 years and not do anything about it
Right.
and get away with it.
Right.
There's no accountability.
Right. You know, if
Right.
if they would turn around and say to these assistants, to the assistants, to the assistants, okay, if our MCAS scores go down by 10%, you'll be looking for a new job.
Yeah, or maybe even more.
Right.
If my MCAS scores go by 10%, your salary goes down by
Right.
10%.
Exactly. do just like and that's the problem that we have in our school system.
Because you don't see the good teachers,
No.
except maybe on channel. Who's it that gives the Golden Apple Award?
yeah.
One of the.
Oh, yeah.
But
Channel 10.
normally, what you see
That's
is a
cool.
film
I
of
like
the one that teacher's saying, "Yeah, y'all dumb, and y'all parents are even dumber than you." You know, and if you voted for Donald Trump, y'all dumb. And obviously, when you talk like that and you're a school teacher, I hope she's not an English teacher.
Yeah.
But see, that's what you see all the time.
Right.
You see the teachers that are, and that's unfair because there are a lot of good teachers out there. I want to make that very clear. I am not anti-teacher, just like I wasn't anti-school when we were against the debt override. We were against the extra taxes, but there are good teachers. The system is broken.
Right.
The system is broken.
No question about it. I mean, when you look back at when you and I and you went to school.
Yeah, Little House on the Prairie.
One classroom, 16 people. Hanging principals outside of windows.
We had a way of dealing with teachers in them days.
Yeah, and they used to beat us with the pointers.
That's
Remember
right.
They
That's
could do that, get away with that.
That's right,
stuff.
they did. And I mean, I remember my kindergarten teacher. Go ahead, act up. She had a paddle and whack, and she used it, and it was that simple. Guess what? There was no gangs in the schools. There was no problems with the students.
They just went formal.
That's right.
There was a few of us at Davis that took everybody's milk money. and on Tuesdays they had bank day when you would bring your quarter in to put in the bank, and they knew to line up. Line up, baby. It's 15 cents for you, a dime for me.
But
now you can go to school.
Yeah, but the school systems were much better. The teachers were dedicated back then. They really were.
It was a different time.
It was a different time. A totally different time.
And it all, we could bang this to death because it all goes to what I remember. How I heard about it was I actually learned it in training when I was taking substance abuse courses about the family unit and the structure of the family unit. When the family unit started breaking apart, where dads were leaving, moms were leaving, and becoming a lot of single parent homes, the attention had to be diverted, right? The kids couldn't get as much attention because now mom's got to work 2 jobs, or there's a babysitter, or
right.
There's more stress in the house, so there wasn't as much attention paid to, did you do your homework, or can I help you with your homework? So over the years, it all built up till we end up where the hell we are now, where
where we are now is not only
mess.
Where we are now is not only because of that. Where we are now is also because the state has turned around and said, this is the financing the school department's going to get. Like it or not, that's what it is.
Ed reform screwed up everything.
Okay, right. Education reform, like Chip always says, education reform needs to be reformed.
That's right.
Yeah,
And let me
put mandates that couldn't be fixed.
Let me make it clear. I know a lot of teachers who are totally frustrated with the system.
Yeah.
They're not happy with what their unions are doing.
Yep.
They're not happy with the way the system is being run. Like I said, they got a whole bunch of people making a whole lot of money, but the teachers aren't getting the support they really need.
Too late now.
Yeah. Well, we're in a new system now.
All right, so just for people that are watching, there is no phone number on the screen. It will be there for the next show. Just to bring you up to date, the owner is opening up a new studio out of state, and we have new management here. So I will sit with them after the show, and we'll make sure that gets up. No problem. But what is the number? Do we even know what?
Your ads aren't even up either.
No, the ads are not up. We'll get everything up. And the show is sponsored by Prestige Auto Mart, Westport, Taunton, and East Providence.
Correct.
Where if you don't get credit, you get a free car, right? And you can go see Big Jeff Larry there and tell him you were sent by the Bottom Line and get a special discount. Or maybe get charged more, I don't know. And the other sponsor is Colin Dyers for School Committee. Colin is running for school committee, so consider Colin for a vote. Move on, gentlemen. What
Yeah.
else we got?
Well, today is 3 weeks from today.
Yeah.
Is the primary election.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
3
Yeah,
weeks
3
from
weeks
today is the primary election. Today's Tuesday.
Okay.
And,
And we got a debate coming up, right?
well, who knows? I mean,
Well, I
yeah,
heard
we're
it-
supposed to. Let's put it
Yeah,
that way.
over here at it's going to be at Merrill Manufacturing Building, the old Anderson Little
Right.
building. It's going to be there. That's what I was told.
That's where Fall River Reporter's office
That's
is,
where
right?
for reporter's office is, right?
Okay.
So maybe on one of those floors, they're going to make room for. I don't know what.
I doubt it's going to be open to the public. I doubt it's going to be open to the public. And that's where,
Oh, that's wrong, Dan.
right, that's where I have a problem.
Then that's wrong.
Because, you know, this is what he does. I mean, we were working with the Fall River and state Democratic committees to put a debate on
Yes, we
on one date, and we just about had the date settled. And guess what? He comes out and he says, "Nope, mine's going to be the same day or the day before, and I don't care." We have historically in this city worked together when it came to debates. Great Fall River Government Television, FRC Media, the Herald News, WSAR, they all worked together to have a debate, and they had it in one of the schools, so it was open to the public, and the public would see it, and there'd be no question about anything being hidden.
Yeah, because I talked to Keith about it
Yeah.
from
From
Media,
Media.
and he said that he was informed about it, that it was going to be there, and he said that he thinks he was going to be streaming there. But I mean, why? So he could have it on television. But maybe Mike Sylvia can call me. He has my number, and let us know if it's open to the public or what the deal is. Because had I known it was not going to be open to the public, if that's true, we could have went on with ours because we were there. All we needed was we were actually waiting to find out if he was doing it.
Right, and he wouldn't return phone calls or emails.
Because we had it locked in. We
Right.
had the people.
But now we've locked it in for the final election.
Yeah.
So, and it will be held publicly somewhere, and that's going to be the way it is. And it's going to happen whether or not Mike Sylvia has a debate or not.
Yeah.
Okay? I understand he's in this as a business for him. So he's not going to cooperate with other media outlets. But
He
you
did
know what?
last time. I don't know what.
But you know what?
changed.
This is how you make enemies and people who won't work with you.
And I did talk to Kevin about that. We won't have a problem getting the hall. We'll have to
Right.
pay for it, but it is what it is. But,
Right.
Oh, we'll pay for it. That's
Yeah.
not a problem.
But I mean, he said we can have the lodge room at the Liberal Club.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but it's 3 weeks from today. So as we always tell the voters, do your homework. Don't read the campaign ads. Pay attention to what the platform is and what the. We have an incumbent who has a record or lack thereof, depending on your perspective.
Yeah, and don't
But,
let him talk about stuff
yeah,
that's not
yeah.
pertaining to his record.
Well, I mean,
But I
no.
think that's what's going to happen. I think that's what's
Well,
going to
if the
happen.
debate ain't set up right, it's going to be a waste.
Well, no, because we already know that Mike Sylvia panders to Paul Coogan. We've seen that in the way he's covered articles, the way he's covered interviews with him. He's pandered to him. It's almost like he gives him the questions before he asks him anything. He allows him to be all prepped. And I mean, that's the way it appears. I'm not saying he's doing that,
Yeah.
but that's the way it appears.
I don't think he does that.
that's the way
But
it
I
is.
understand what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Well, we don't know, because I can tell you one thing. All the debates we ran, Spindle City, nobody got the questions. And
Yeah.
believe me,
Yeah.
there were times when some of the candidates were really trying to put pressure
Yep.
to get the questions. But nobody's going to get the questions.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to do it the way we always do it.
And we'll select our own
it's
questions,
We
so-
select our own questions, exactly.
Well,
And
absolutely.
nobody's going to have anything to do with. We'll have questions submitted. We'll pick the questions.
And the whole, aside, not only the questions are crucial.
They are.
They're crucial, and the format is crucial. Mm-hmm. Okay, because I like the back and forth.
That's right.
I want rebuttals. I want rebuttals because I want them to have a chance to explain themselves or catch themselves.
I keep getting shit for one of our debates when Bill Rapley.
Oh,
Yeah.
Remember that
Yeah,
one?
but yeah,
That
right.
was an excellent debate. You had to
It
admit.
was, yeah.
That was a fun debate. I mean, they were all slamming each other. It was
He let it go.
yeah, and he did.
And some people didn't like it.
No.
I thought it was great.
So did I. But Renee Kochman from Forward Government Television said, "Don't you ever do that again. Don't you ever bring that here again." I thought it was great. I thought it was.
Why? Who is he?
Randy Kochman.
So what? Who is he?
But look, some people like the House of Commons
Yep.
because they yell and scream at each other, which is good. I do. But, Lincoln Douglas debates, and we've had debates that were half Lincoln Douglas and half.
Yeah.
But the key is that, look, candidates should be asked really pointed questions, and they should also be able to engage in a spirited debate.
That's right.
Because that's what you see what they're made of.
Yeah.
Because all you got to do is look at Biden. I mean, all he does is read from a teleprompter
Yeah.
and answer questions that have been predetermined and call.
Right,
out
and
some
when you
people.
do
So if
rebuttals,
wanna
you can't
watch a
do that.
mummy, we don't want a mummy debate. I want a debate that I can see what the candidate's made of. I want to see him answer some tough questions, and then when his opponent comes at him, let's see what they can do when they
That's
go
right.
at each other.
Well, you could do like for the mayor. You could ask a simple question like, "Man, can you tell us one or two things that you've done in your administration that reduced spending or held the line on taxes or cut taxes?" And then on the other side, because the other guy isn't the mayor, you would ask him, "What would you do
Yeah.
if mayor to do that?"
Well, I can tell you the answer to his question already. We can't count movies because that's all he's
That's
ever
right.
done. But he's going to say, I eliminated the fire commissioners.
Yeah.
Which,
What was that? $2,000?
I think they get they were getting
$3,500 a year.
$1,500 a year.
Yeah.
They get $1,500 a year,
yeah.
and they were advisory. So that was his big cost savings. But
Yeah.
he only eliminated.
And
them.
he keeps going around saying, and I've gotten rid of boards and commissions. And
What
he keeps
was it?
saying- He got rid of the fire
people he-
commission.
Oh,
Yeah.
come on.
He got rid of the fire commission.
which
on.
was, by the way, should have been gone a long time ago.
Right.
Police commission's gone too because
yeah,
they had
yeah.
no voting power.
Because
They should have
once
never been there.
Once they went, people can't remember when they changed everybody to contract chiefs except the fire department. I blocked that when I was the president, so I was the only one that stay in civil service. But then, because of the structure of civil service department heads, the police department and the fire department had to have a board of fire commissioners. They were the appointing authority.
Yeah.
They were appointed by the mayor, but they were technically the
Yeah,
appointing.
yeah.
They did the hiring and the firing. They were like a buffer. Now, once you went to a contract chief in a police department, they changed the police commissioners to just they were
Nothing.
advisory, pure
Yeah.
advisory.
Yeah.
But they still got to pay because they were connected with somebody.
Yeah.
Because look, the fire commissioners were bullshit anyway.
Yeah.
We had a housewife.
A bus driver.
A bus driver
Yeah.
and a bartender for the fire commission. So what
And
the
the
hell do they
police,
know about
the
the
police
fire
commission
department?
had a credit card. Did you know that? They used to, when they would have their meeting, from what I was told, after their meeting, they would go out and eat on this credit card.
Well, that never happened with the fire commissioners, but like I said, those commissioners.
What I was
But
told.
once they went to a contract chief on a fire department for a short time, and then he went back to civil service.
yeah.
Now, what they didn't do is they didn't restructure it so the fire commission was a appointing authority any longer. They kept it as advisory, so they were useless. Now the chief had all the power to appoint and promote. So.
Right. I just got off the phone the other day with the chief of police because I've been doing a lot of research on police commissions because I like a police commissioner. I like the theory. I've done a lot of reading on it. And I talked to him about a civil review commission, right, that actually has authority, right?
We've been talking about that for years.
And then Boston is looking at doing that right now, right? So he is open to something like that, right? And I said the way I would like to see it is that these commissioners have voting authority, right? So that, like, say the incident with the drug thing, that would automatically go to them, and if then they would advise terminate or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And that if it's a majority, he has to follow it.
Right.
Yeah, you got to have a board, but look, I hate to tell you this, but politics always rears its ugly head. They had a
Make it an election
for
board.
for years. You need a board because for years they had a fire commissioner in Boston, not like
Yeah.
ours, which
Yeah.
was a housewife, a bartender,
Yeah.
and a bus driver. They in Boston, to be the fire commissioner of Boston, you had to have 10 years experience as a chief officer in Boston. But that went south when Leo Stapleton, who was the fire commissioner, I knew him
Yeah.
very well. When Leo Stapleton, when they cut the fire department drastically in Boston,
Yeah.
he got on a TV and said, "You want to give me this little manpower? We can't go inside a building. Anytime we have a fire, you can cross that building off the tax rolls until I get my men back."
Yeah, right.
The mayor
Yeah.
flipped out,
Yeah.
but he gave them all his men back.
Yeah.
And then you know what they did? They eliminated the 10 years as a fire chief, and they hired a retired naval officer to be the fire commissioner.
So that's what I mean. But if you, I would like to see it if it does go through as an elected position, not
Yeah,
appointed.
it has to be elected.
And also that he based on the vote, it's a command. They
Right.
have to follow it. And that's the bottom line. You just if it's and as far as who's on it, only one police officer, and they have to be retired. So that it's in fact a civilian rebuke.
That's right.
You're not all retired cops or all cops.
They don't want that,
You know
though.
that. No, you want people, regular
No,
Joes.
you want a reflection of the community.
Right, and
That's
you
it.
want one retired police officer just so you have some balance and someone there that understands the law better. I thought that was a good.
Yeah.
Whether it ever happens, who the hell knows?
Who knows?
You
Yeah.
know, but that's about it, guys.
That's it. So, again, stay informed.
Stay angry.
And that's the bottom line. We'll see you next week, folks. Thank you very much. Be safe and go to the vigil tonight, 4 to 6 p.m. down at City Hall. Bye-bye.